players now getting set to choose their lineups to lock in very shortly. And this is where legends are made. The moment that they've been preparing for. MartoGalde, once again, your reigning LAIC champion, looking to repeat and defend the home crown. NiteTimerClasher, a former regional champion. It's his first time, as you said, making a championship Sunday. So this is a new scene for him, and he'll try to take down perhaps the favorite, you could argue, in Marto.
Yeah, it is crazy to say that a previous regional champion and one of the most consistent top cutters might be the underdog in this story. But of course it makes sense when you're seeing the competition. MartoGalde, he is so accomplished, as you said. Previous LAIC champion, has had the season with the most major event wins ever in Pokemon GO. And on the loser side, waiting nobody else other than Patoman, the World Championship runner-up, EUIC champion, NAIC top 3, 4th consecutive Championship Sunday.
And in addition to simply wanting to win, right? Remember, Pokemon GO follows the double elimination format, so whoever is able to win this match, securing a spot in the grand finals, they will have a advantage going into those grand finals on the winner's side. They can afford to lose one match to reset the bracket and then have another go. Versus if you're coming from the loser's side of the bracket, you have to win to keep yourself alive. Otherwise, it is the end of the road.
Now, Pokemon GO is a game where you have to be meticulous. You have to be precise with your plays. You cannot afford to lose to your own nerves. Patoman and MartoGalde, they have already built a legacy. They have made Championship Sunday once again. There is nothing that they could do to come out of this as losers. But we're going to see the lead here. Gyarados versus Medicham. Quite the neutral lead, you would think. But Medicham in the Zero Shield scenario have the edge.
Here we go. The winners finals underway. Gyarados versus Medicham, a common matchup we've seen throughout the weekend, and the crunch is going to next. Now, most Medicham trainers have been opting to stay in here and throw the double dynamic punch, threatening to knock out the Gyarados. Although it's resisted, you may be wondering why not the ice punch. The dynamic punch is a more efficient attack. It does more raw damage than the ice punch to the Gyarados.
5 damage in total. First shield being put up here against a not super effective attack. Swap into the own Gyarados of MartoGalde. Wants to put this pressure on with Dragon Breath. Threatens a possible farm down when he shields. Here, NiteTimerClasher's Switch Clock is up, however.
Wow. The Dugong swaps in this bulky water ice type, going to take the energy from the Gyarados and attempt to farm it down aggressively. Gyarados firing off the crunch. The switch clock from Marto is not up yet, so he is stuck in here, and NiteTimerClasher seems content just absorbing all this energy in exchange for a big farm down.
I think this is a very nice win condition for NiteTimerClasher. Of course, the Medicham in the back defense debuff here is not going to matter in the Dugong versus Gyarados matchup. 1.5 icy wins already. We're already at 2. Can throw all of this energy into the Medicham.
And although this is a bad matchup for the Dugong, on the Psycho Cut variant of Medicham, there is not a lot of fast attack pressure. NiteTimerClasher actually saving one of the icy wins for later. Swaps into the Metang. It's met by one of its counters, the Runerigus.
But how important is it going to be to counter that Medicham here, that Metang as well, because Runerigus will be facing an Icy Wind later on in the game. Both trainers are at 1 shield. NiteTimerClasher, even though you take super effective damage from everything from Runerigus, you're pacing fast to those Psyshocks.
And with the 45-second switch timer, this will come up eventually, and NiteTimerClasher was able to preserve some health on both of his remaining Pokemon. He's allowing this Brutal Swing to connect. This is super effective damage, going to put the Metang very low, and he can't escape quite yet, but Marto actually decides to throw another Brutal Swing.
That looked like it could have been a potential farm down. Marto is throwing charge attacks, not games, goes for the Brutal Swing immediately, says he can win with the Runerigus, does one Ice Shard here on the side of NiteTimerClasher. Precise counting by the US player. Another shield has been put up here. Dugong is in a dangerous farm down range. NiteTimerClasher will have to swap out immediately unless he wants to get farmed down. There's going to be a charge attack here. We're going to see a charge attack priority event. Gyarados wins this. Is going to Aqua Tail down the Runerigus.
That was the question, whether Gyarados could reach this Aqua Tail first. It does so. Knocks out the Runerigas. Maybe a slight miscue from Marto, and NiteTimerClasher takes game number 1.
Take a deep breath. The underdog is in the lead. NiteTimerClasher has been looking fantastic this entire tournament. I think he said something about a 14-2 run into the championship Sunday on the winner's side is absolutely phenomenal. Precise plays by him and MartoGalde. Maybe even with a little slip up there, this could have been a farm down on the Metang with the Runerigas.
He's been on fire, NiteTimerClasher, and MartoGalde, we got the chance to talk to him a little bit before we started today, and he feels like he's got no pressure. He feels like this is his chance to repeat. He's already proven himself, and he's just gonna go out there and give it his best. And we saw, I think, what was a rare miscue from Marto, where it did appear like he could have gone for the full Shadow Claw down here against the Metang before it reached another side shock. Maybe he was afraid that NiteTimerClasher would switch out and the switch timer was up. So it's a rare mistake from Marto, and NiteTimerClasher able to capitalize here, looking composed, looking locked in, taking that 1-0 advantage.
It is such a signature move in the LAIC meta that the Pokemon you're beginning the game with also finishes the game. Gyarados in the lead, being swapped out later on with red HP, is farming down that Medicham behind a shield. Medicham was at the charge attack, but I even think even if NiteTimerClasher had used a previous shield, the Dugong could have farmed down the Medicham.
Absolutely, the Medicham was extremely low on health. NiteTimerClasher going to be happy taking this 1-game advantage, obviously, and especially the way he was able to maneuver. It seemed like he was perfectly on point with his counts, and he was ready to go. You got to think about the preparation of these players that went into this matchup, trying to devise certain strategies. And do you come up with strategies beforehand, employ them, stick to what you planned on, or do you adapt? Here we go. It seems we have a lock-in for game number 2, and it's going to be the Gyarados mirror in the lead.
We have seen plenty of versions of how this matchup plays out. Do you bait an Aqua Tail? Seems like NiteTimerClasher is going straight for the crunch. Wins charge attack priority. MartoGalde reaching for the Aqua Tail.
The Pokemon with the higher attack stat is going to win the charge attack priority. Crunch is let through, and Marto opting for the Aqua Tail. Now, you may be wondering why. This is a strategy we've seen employed throughout the tournament, where you actually just go for the resisted, cheaper Aqua Tail because you can get to another one first, and you still put the pressure on NiteTimerClasher. Will he use the Protect Shield? He's debating. No, he's going to let it go.
He does, in fact, not. Does he get farmed down? Now it looks like it can reach the Aqua Tail. Stores it, swaps out into the Medicham. Medicham is now going for a farm down. Does not quite get it. Gyarados is being swapped out. Can MartoGalde reach an Aqua Tail later on in the game? Or is this just a Gyarados for a sacrificial swap?
And we didn't only have just a Gyarados mirror in the lead. We have a full mirror team here.
Oh, wow.
So NiteTimerClasher preserving that Aqua Tail could be a huge factor. He's also ahead on energy with his Medicham. Now, another question is going to be, does MartoGalde's Gyarados that he preserved have the potential to reach an Aqua Tail later? I think it might have been one Dragon Breath shy.
If you get the Gyarados onto that Dugong, you can get off an Aqua Tail because the damage doesn't register yet. However, how effective this is, that's a different story.
And one scenario that we have not seen this tournament is the potential for a timeout strat. Now, in this match, if there is a Dugong mirror, both Dugong are dealing double resisted Ice Shard damage to one another. It's a matchup that plays out for quite some time. Once a Pokemon Go match reaches that 4.5 minute mark, the timer starts to become a factor. Will it here? To be determined. But as of now, MartoGalde actually gets a huge charge attack priority against the Medicham.
Gyarados wins this for NiteTimerClasher. MartoGalde wins it with a Medicham. Does not knock out the Medicham of NiteTimerClasher though, so that one got some damage off, but will now feint to an Ice Punch. Everything might now be on the Dugong for MartoGalde. With the 1 HP on the Gyarados, NiteTimerClasher is swapping in his Dugong as well. MartoGalde is going to reach that Icy Wind first. Is going to debuff NiteTimerClasher's Dugong.
Leo, if you're a NiteTimerClasher, you have 3 Pokemon. Marto has 2. Do you ever consider just going straight Icy Wind here and trying to stall the clock to win this game by timeout? I think it's a viable strategy.
I think I can see that because you're always going to be debuffed first. They're throwing those drill runs. Does not seem like it is going to matter too much. Also, however, if you're stalling the clock for a little bit more, I think you can win in other ways. You can swap in that Gyarados and throw an Aqua Tail, deal some more chip damage, which is really important in the Dugong mirror match.
Opting for the drill run now because NiteTimerClasher recognizes Marto could clear debuffs if he keeps going for the Icy Wind. The first Protect Shield is finally employed by Marto, and he'll be happy to successfully shield a drill run. And both trainers building up. You also have to be weary of the potential for a catch. NiteTimerClasher still has 2 Pokemon hanging around as well.
I think MartoGalde is, after one of those charge attacks, going to try and go for a Gyarados swap immediately, trying to catch the Dugong off guard, get an Aqua Tail off, clear the debuff on the Dugong. But I think you would have to do this rather soon to get rid of that debuff. Get the most efficient charge attacks off. Is any player going for a catch soon? Another drill run connecting here. It is so intense.
So many charge attacks being thrown. Another Protect Shield is used, this time by NiteTimerClasher, and he no longer has any Protect Shields remaining. But keep in mind, this Dugong is still debuffed on the side of Marto. A single drill run will not be enough to knock out the Dugong. He will need at least 2. You can kind of gauge the damage by how much that drill run just did to Marto's. Oh! And the catch onto Gyarados.
MartoGalde deciding he doesn't want to get the Aqua Tail and he wants to catch a charge attack and clear this debuff. Gyarados being knocked out. Now it's time for Dugong to shine again. We're getting so close into time. Another catch from NiteTimerClasher brings in the Gyarados, soaks the energy. It still gets knocked out, but now it is Dugong mirror match time, and the timer is getting lower and lower. There's 2 Pokemon. You were right. This is a timeout.
And NiteTimerClasher, the first time we've seen in the entire tournament, he waits to the winners finals to employ the timeout strategy, and he is your game number 2 winner.
He's just chilling there, chilling with the ice and water type Dugong in the mirror match. Every time that happens, you have a slow, fast attack, quote unquote. No damage at all in the mirror match, chilling.
You have 10 seconds to bring in a Pokemon once Pokemon faints from the battlefield, from the field. And NiteTimerClasher, he understood that. He's locked in. He knows I don't even need to really bring in my Pokemon here. I can just wait out this full switch clock, but was careful, I think, to bring in the Dugong to make sure that he kept both Pokemon still in the game. And if you're wondering how you decide who wins by timeout, for those tuning in, whoever has more Pokemon remaining on the field, and we saw that huge catch from NiteTimerClasher to really just seal this game, whoever has more Pokemon remaining will win when the game goes to a timeout. And if there is the same amount of Pokemon remaining, it is whoever has the most combined health will win.
I just also want to mention, he caught that charge attack on the Gyarados that had a full charge attack loaded and not on the Medicham that had nothing.
Right. And I think he could have probably withstood the drill run right onto his Dugong, and maybe could have swapped to throw that Aqua Tail to also stall the clock. So multiple win conditions there, but NiteTimerClasher doing it in style with the double resisted drill run catch onto his flying type Pokemon.
Before that, there was a Gyarados catching an Icy Wind that seemed a little bit random, throwing that Icy Wind at that point, but it did not really matter. I think at that time, NiteTimerClasher has definitely decided. Oh, and that is an interesting matchup. Gyarados in the lead again for NiteTimerClasher versus the Vespiquen. Does not look like it should be the best matchup for Vespiquen because it is a bug type versus a flying type. However, you have Power Gem.
And it is so difficult to no-shield a potential Power Gem if you are NiteTimerClasher. This would do incredible damage, and Marto understands that. He understands the pressure to commit the Protect Shield, so he's going for the cheaper energy cost X-Scissor and grabs it from the Gyarados.
Also, it is very, very funny that NiteTimerClasher has neutral damage on Dragon Breath versus Vespiquen. Vespiquen has resisted damage with Fury Cutter on Gyarados, but deals more damage percentage-wise. Both fast attacks deal 2 damage only, but that is much harder to withstand for the Gyarados. Another charge attack being queued up here. This time it is the Power Gem. Both shields down for NiteTimerClasher early in the game.
And Marto staying in, and incredible counting by NiteTimerClasher, throwing before a potential X-Scissor is unleashed. And Marto actually putting up his second Protect Shield here. He wants to win the switch. Oh, but a slight miscount. and another Aqua Tail is employed. This Vespiquen's going down.
And this Gyarados is at 40% HP. This is a miscount that could cost MartoGalde the winner's finals here. Brings in his own Gyarados. Can the Gyarados of NiteTimerClasher reach a crunch? Yes, it does. Goes for it. Deals a lot of damage. MartoGalde knows this is not going to be a charge attack priority event. Tries to go for a full farm down here.
The neutral crunch connects and a defense drop on top of it. This looks like an incredibly difficult situation for Marto. The swap into the Medicham met by the Metang, and he is fighting with his back against the wall right now.
NiteTimerClasher, everything favors him now, has played this lead matchup to perfection, got to the charge attack priority versus the Vespiquen here, and now Metang is countering the Medicham, while Medicham has countered years back everything else in the meta, and now another dynamic punch being thrown. It won't deal half to that Metang.
Marto the opportunity to throw 2 dynamic punches first. The problem here is the Metang paces at the same rate, going for another Psy Shock. This is going to put Medicham extremely low. I think Marto's trying to see if he can get out to save the dynamic punch, but he's forced to throw it here, and he's going to have to swap out.
This is going to be one Fury Cutter for Metang to win this Medicham matchup there. Oh, it is a... Oh no, it Fury Cutters down, actually brings in the Dugong. There is not enough HP on the side of MartoGalde. Overfarms, concedes the Met. NiteTimerClasher 3-0 advances to the grand finals of LAIC.
Who saw this coming? NiteTimerClasher with a 3-0 sweep over Marto. And it looks like the players are going to shake hands, and NiteTimerClasher has secured a spot in the grand finals.